So last class we discussed about torsion in circular shafts. So the deformation produced by the twisting moment is such that the circular planes rotate about the axis of the shaft. All points in the circular plane rotate by the same amount, and the points continue to remain on that circular plane. They don't move out of plane. Okay, they remain in the same circular plane. We found that the shearing strain is proportional to the distance from the axis of the shaft, and we got a expression uh, gamma is equal to rho pi by L. So rho is the distance of the point from the axis of the circular shaft. Phi is the angle of twist. L is the length of the segment. And then we found that we can apply Hooke's law if the yield stress is less than the so if the yield stress is less than uh, shear stress is less than the yield stress, then we can apply the Hooke's law. So we get tau is equal to g gamma, and gamma is a shear strain. So we found that again the uh, shear stress is also varying linearly. The maximum shear stress occurs on the outer circumference, and that value is given as tau is equal to g r by j. J is the polar moment of inertia. Okay, so we solved some problems. We solved some problems, and then okay, so in today's class, what we'll discuss is we'll find out the relationship between the torque applied on the circular shaft and the twist angle. And then what we will do, we will analyze a shaft which is consisting of multiple prismatic segments subjected to end loads, that is loads at the ends, and also some intermediate loads. So we will analyze that problem and find what is the total angle of twist or what is the angle of twist in each segment. Then what we will do, we will analyze suppose varying cross section is there. That means the area of the cross section is varying throughout the length. How will you find the relationship between deformation and the torque? So that also we'll analyze, and after that we will solve a we'll look into the problem of statically indeterminate shafts. So this formulation will involve writing the equilibrium equations and then applying the compatibility condition. So let's begin with this relationship between angle of twist in a circular shaft subjected to a torque T. So here we have this shaft which is fixed at one end, and on the other end we are applying a torque T. So the length of the shaft is L. So under the action of the torque, the initial line L, initial line which is a horizontal line, will rotate and it will form an angle of gamma max on the outer circumference. So this is the deformed line, and this is the initial horizontal line. So we want to find what is, and at the center, the arc will subtend an angle of phi, that is the angle of twist, and the radius of this cross section is r. So one thing we can say is that gamma max L is equal to r times p. Yesterday we had discussed that. So gamma, that is the length of the arc is same. Whether you can calculate from this end r gamma max times L or r times p. Then another relation we had was tau max is equal to g gamma max, that is the shear strain, and that we got as uh, that shear stress we can maximum shear stress we got as Tr by J. So rho, sorry, is it Tr by J? Yeah, it is Tr by J. That is the maximum shear stress. Then what we can do, we can equate gamma max. So gamma max is equal to r pi by L, and it is also equal to Tr by J, which is we can equate these two equations. So we get gamma max is Tr by Gj, and that is also equal to R phi by L. Okay, so from these two equations we get this relation, gamma max is Tr by Gj, and from this equation we get gamma max is R pi by L. So from this we can relate that applied torque with the angle of twist P. So what we do, we cancel out R term, and then we send the L term to the left hand side. So we get angular twist P is equal to applied torque into length of the shaft by G. G is the shear modulus, times J. J is the polar moment of inertia. So the the angular twist produced is directly proportional to the applied torque. It is directly proportional to the length of the shaft, and it is inversely proportional to GJ term. Okay, so if the shaft has higher shear rigidity, then high shear modulus, then the twist will be less, and if the shaft is has higher J, then the twist also will be less. So you can look at this equation and you can compare it with this equation for axial for a bar subjected to axial load. So you see here delta is equal to, for a bar of Young's modulus C and cross section A and length L, when you apply a load P, then the deflection, that is extension in the that axial bar, extension in the bar will be delta is equal to PL by EA. So if you compare this angle of twist equation and the extension equation, there is some relation. It looks very much similar. So instead of P, we are having T. Instead of that axial load P, we are having the applied torque T, and instead of GJ, instead of E and A, Young's modulus and area, we are having the shear modulus and the polar moment of inertia. Okay, so yeah, with this, what we can do is that there are some machines where we can do some torsion testing. So in the torsion testing machine, what we will do, we will apply some torque on the body, on the circular shaft, and we measure the applied torque and the angle of twist produced. So we plot the torque versus the angle of twist. So angle of twist is shown in the x-axis and torque is shown in the y-axis. So as you keep applying the load, applying the torque, the twist will be produced, and there is a linear increase up to certain point, and after that what will happen, there is plastic deformation happening, and you'll get some loss of stiffness is there. So but we are only dealing with the elastic case. So before plastic deformation occurring, we are looking to that case. So in that scenario, we'll have the slope of this line that will be equal to T times what we will do here is we are sending Gj by L to the right hand side. So we will get Gj by L pi P. So the slope will be Gj by L. So the slope of the T, the torque and angular twist diagram is Gj by L. So if you compare with the axial load problem, then instead of Gj by L, you will have Ea by L, and here you will have delta, and here will be P. P delta curve, we have Ea by L. For this torsion, you will have Gj by L. That is the slope. Okay, so with this thing, we can solve some. We can apply this formula. We can find out what is the torque produced required to produce certain angle of twist. So in this problem, we have a hollow circular tube with inner diameter d1 and outer diameter d2, and we are applying a torque equal to, we don't know what torque we have to apply, but the length is 1.5 meters. It is fixed at the other end. The shear modulus is given as 77 GPa. We need to produce a twist of 2 degrees. So we are always working with radians. So we will convert degree into radians. So 1 degree is equal to phi by 180 radians. Okay, so we multiply 2 into phi by 180. So it will become pi by phi by 90 radians. Okay, so we are asked to find what should be the torque which we need to apply on this end, such that the twist produced will be 2 degrees or pi by 90 radians. So we can directly apply the formula we directly apply the formula. T is equal to Gj by L phi. G is 77 gigapascal. So it is 77 into 10 power 3 megapascal. So 10 power 3 megapascal, 1 megapascal is Newton per millimeter square. So and J value we have found it in yesterday's class. We did the same example here. So I'll just write that expression for J, 1.021 into 10 power 6 millimeter power 4. So it is pi by 2 R2 power 4 minus R1 power 4. So that is this value. And phi is expressed in radians, so we have phi by 90, and length 1.5 meters, we will express in millimeter, 1500 millimeters. So we are getting the answer in Newton millimeter, and this 10 power 6 Newton millimeter is 1 kilonewton meter. So 10 power 3 Newton into 10 power 3 millimeter, so kilonewton meter. So we are getting around 1.829 kilonewton meter. That is a torque we need to apply so that the angular twist is 2 degrees. Okay. So what we will do here is I will introduce one way of looking at this problem. So we are having this torque T. Okay. So what you do, you take your right hand and you curl your fingers in the direction in which the twist is being produced. So when you curl your 4 fingers in the direction in which the twist is being produced, you will find that the right hand thumb is pointing in the leftward direction. Okay, so we can express the torque T by in this way. So what we'll do, we have our fixed end here, we have our shaft AB here, and we are representing the torque T by these two double arrows. Okay, so these two double arrows are pointing in the leftward direction, and their magnitude is T. So what it means is uh, the direction is in the leftward direction. So you take your right hand and put the thumb in the direction of those double arrows. So when you put the right hand in the direction of double arrows, you will find that the fingers are curling in the same direction as the where the twisting moment is being produced. Okay, so that is what we have. So we will use this notation because it is convenient for solving the problems. Okay, it will make things easier. So we'll adopt this convention here. So this beam which is this shaft which is fixed at A and free at B, we are twisting it at B here by this twisting moment T. So there will be a corresponding reaction produced here, and that corresponding reaction we are denoting by this double arrow, and this will balance this T. So TA will be equal to T. Okay, because this shaft is in torsional equilibrium. Okay, so and we can find out what is the twisting moment produced at an intermediate cross section. So we can cut a section here, and we can either look at the left part or you can look at the right part. So if we're looking at the right segment, then what will happen is on the B we have the twisting moment T, and to balance it there will be another twisting moment occurring on the this section here. So that will be TAB. So TAB will be balanced by T. So TAB is equal to T. Okay, so across this cross section there is a uniform twisting moment coming into picture. Okay, and it is pointing in this direction. So it is a positive point. If you take x-axis this direction as positive I cap, then it will be TAB I cap over the entire that will be T I cap over this entire region. Okay, so with this notation we'll use this notation for solving some problems here. So again, now we will go into a little complicated problem. This problem involves multiple prismatic segments. So here we have segment B and segment EC and segment CA. So segment B has one cross section, EC has another cross section, cross sectional dimensions, and CA has different cross sectional dimensions. And here the loads are applied on the ends. So TB there is some load acting which is 2 kilonewton meter or Newton meter, and here TA we have some 6 Newton meter or kilonewton meter. Okay, so some torque is being applied at the ends, and also in the intermediate places we are having some torque. So intermediate at this location D we are having some torque TD, and at this junction we are having TC is 4. Okay, so what we want to do, we want to analyze this problem and find out what are the deformations, what is the twist happening in this segment, entire segment or between individual segments. What is the twist between these two regions or between these two region or this two region and all. So if you look carefully, it is just like that axial load problem, which is composed of prismatic components and also intermediate loads. So we have to divide this problem into multiple segments. So how many segments we need? So between this point to this point, the twisting moment will be uniform. So we have one segment, and from E to D, again the twisting moment will be same, but the area of cross section has changed. So we need another segment here, ED, and from D to C, the twisting moment is same and area of cross section. Yeah, so we'll have another segment here. So there will be a change in twisting moment between ED and DC. So we need another segment, and from C to A we will have another segment. So totally we have 4 segments. So we'll divide this problem into this system into 4 segments: BE, ED, DE, and CA. Okay, so once we do that, then we can look at each individual segment and find out what is the torsional moment. And once we know the torsional moment, we can find out what is the angle of twist. Okay, so uh, before doing that, let's look at the equilibrium for this problem. So this equilibrium for this body is in equilibrium. That means that the torsional moments produced in clockwise direction is balanced by torsional moments produced in anti-clockwise direction. So here clockwise moments are TD and TC, and anti-clockwise are TB. So TB plus TA is equal to TD plus TC. So TB is 2 and TA is 6. So 8 and 4 plus 4 is 8. So this problem is okay. This is in torsional equilibrium. Okay, so what we will do, we will yeah, we will divide the segment. So we are looking at segment B here. So in segment B, we are having the TB acting in this direction. So what you do, you take your right hand, curl your fingers, four fingers in the direction of the twisting movement. So the right hand thumb is pointing in the rightward direction, in the x-axis. So what we're doing, we're analyzing that system here, the segment B. So we have that rightward movement, the torsional moment indicated by TB I cap, and at the intermediate section we don't know what is the twisting moment which is resisting it, so we'll just denote it by rightward arrows and call it TBE I cap. So this system is in equilibrium, so we get TBE is equal to minus TB. Okay, so actually what it means is that if the twisting moment is like this, to balance it we need a twisting moment in the other direction. So that is a twisting moment minus 2 I cap. Now what we can do, we can look at the segment between E to D. Again we'll have the same twisting moment, there is no change. We'll have TB I cap here, and on the right face we have TED I cap. To balance, we will have TED plus TB is 0, so TED is minus TB. Now we are looking in the segment between D and C. So here this intermediate torque is acting. And how is this intermediate torque acting? If you take your right hand and put your four fingers in the direction of that rotation, that is the direction of the torque, we see that the thumb is pointing to the leftward direction. So this is actually minus 4 I cap, okay, or minus TD I cap. So what we will do, we will draw the segment, we'll draw BED, that portion, and there is this segment in between D and C. So at B we have TBI cap, at D we have minus TDI cap, because it's acting in the leftward direction, in the other direction. And at right surface we will have the torsional resistance TDC I cap, that is the torsional resistance in segment DC. And if you do the force balance, TB minus TD plus TC is 0, so TDC will be TD minus TB. Okay, and similarly we can do the analysis for the segment CA. So here what will happen is there will be plus 2 I cap, minus 4 I cap, minus 4 J cap, minus 4 I cap. So we'll get minus 6 plus TAC, that so TAC will be 6. Okay, or you can take the left portion and you will see that this is plus yeah, what is this? 6 right? Yeah. Let's do that. So for CA we have B, E, D and C. This entire segment is there, and we are analyzing the segment between C and A. So we are cutting a section in the intermediate part. And at B we have TBI cap, at D we have minus TDI cap, at C we have minus TCI cap. And here on the right surface we'll have the torsional resistance TCA cap. So all this is in equilibrium. So TB minus TD minus TC plus TCA is 0. So we have that equilibrium equation, and from that we can get TCA is TC plus TD minus TB, which happens to be equal to TA. Okay, so what we have done, we have found out what is the torsional moments coming in the various segments. So we are now draw the torsional moment diagram. So from B to E, we see that TB is equal to minus TB. So it is a negative value. So we are drawing it below the axis. So this is TBE. It's a negative value here. It's, if you look at the values, it will be minus 2. And TED, segment TED, again we have same value, minus 2. Although the area of cross section has increased, the torsional resistance is still the same. And what happens between D to C, there is a jump, and that value is TD minus TB. So it has gone 6 minus 2 is 4. So I'm drawing it above the y-axis, above the x-axis, and this is the torsion moment in the segment DC. And then we'll have TCA, the torsion resistance is TA, so TCA is TA, that value is 6. So it minus 2, 4 and 6. So this is the torsional moment diagram. So this is similar to the axial force diagram. So we have plus P, minus P, minus P, plus P and plus P, something like that. Or so once we have the torsional moment diagram, we can then draw the T by GJ diagram. Okay. So we are dividing this torsional moment by shear modulus times the polar moment of inertia. Okay, so for if you look at this body, between B to E, it will have one polar moment of inertia. It will be JBE, and between E to C or ED to ED and DC, the two segments, it will have the polar moment of inertia JED or J and JDC, and between C and A, it will have JAC. So what we are doing is we are dividing this term, torsional moment diagram, by the GJ term. Okay. So we what will happen is J value for that solid section will be some, it will have some value, and after that the area of cross section has increased, so J value will increase, so this T by J will reduce. So we have that portion here, TED by JED, and then here we have TDC by GJDC, so we'll divide that this value by GJDC, will get some curve, and TCA by GJCA will get another horizontal line. So this is T by GJ diagram. So what is the use of this T by GJ diagram? It is something like the P by EA diagram. Okay, so or probably M by EA diagram. That is a bending moment diagram. So the change in the bending moment, the area under the bending moment diagram. Here, the area under the T by GJ diagram will give you the change in the twist. That is a difference in twisting between one segment and the other segment. Okay. So what we will do, if you want to find what is the change in the angle of rotation between point B and point A, that means the circle at point B, how much, what is the difference in the angle of twist between circle at point B and circle at point A, point E. So what we have to do, we have to take the area under the curve. Okay, so that is what we get from this equation. So pi E minus pi B, that means if at point E there is a circular plane and at point B there is a circular plane. Now due to the twisting movement there will be some rotations happening. The difference in the rotations between the circular plane at E and the circular plane at B, that difference is pi E minus pi B, and that is equal to the area under the T by GJ diagram. That is the change in the angle is TBLB by GJB. Okay, so that is a difference in pi E minus pi B. Similarly, there will be change in pi D minus pi E. We can just apply that formula TL by GJ. So T for ED portion, L for ED portion, and G for G is same, and J for the ED portion. Similarly, pi C minus phi D, phi C minus phi D will be TDC LDC by GJDC, and phi A minus phi C will be TCA LCA by GJCA. So these are the change in differences in the twist produced at B and E, E and D, D and C, and C and A. Okay, so if you want to find what is the total twist which is happening between A and B, what we can do, we can sum up all these terms. Okay, then what will happen? Pi will cancel, pi D will cancel, pi C and pi C will cancel. So the left hand side will be pi A minus pi B, and here the right hand portion will sum up all those terms. So we can get the change in angle at the extrements, the twist produced between the two ends, pi A minus pi B. Okay, so
Sir,
this is the, yeah.
sir, I have a doubt in the equation of sir DC. Sir, TDC should be sir minus TDC I gap now. Sir, so how this is
TDC, okay, TDC. Yeah? So TDC is TD minus TB.
T? Sir, please repeat, sir.
TDC is TD minus TB.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, so TD is 6 and TB is 4. So I'm just writing it above the x-axis. Just for reference, we don't know what is the exact value of TD and TB. For this problem, I'm just choosing TD is 6 and TB is 2. So 6 minus 2 is 4, so it lies above the x-axis, and it will be positive.
Sir, I have a doubt in the direction of TDC, sir.
See, we are always assuming to be oriented, TDC to be oriented in the x direction. If the value turns out to be negative, then it will be negative.
Okay, sir.
Here TB is negative. That means the twisting moment is in the other direction. So we have to put your right hand to the left hand side and curl it, so the twisting moment is in that way. Here same thing about TED. Although we are assuming it to be in this direction, but the value turns out to be negative. TDC we are assuming to be like this, but its value is positive. It's similar to the axial load problem. We are assuming that tensile load is there, but the value can be negative, and then it will be a compressive load. So same system. of analysis. Okay, so I have just simplified the problem by using these double arrows. Okay, if you want to do in a different way where you want to cut the cross section and show the arrows, it will be very complicated. So I'm trying, I have simplified it by the usage of the double arrows, so the analysis is a little easier. Okay, so yeah, we can find the change in the twist angles between different segments and the total twist produced by summing up all these terms. Okay, so I will take a small break and I will come back. So discuss one more. Okay, are you able to hear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, we have that phi a minus phi b as sum of all those t l by gj terms for each segment. So we can write it in a mathematical way like this: phi is equal to sigma I uh, T L by Gj over each segment. I represents a segment. So segment 1, segment 2, segment 3, segment 4. So T represents the torsional moment in that internal moment in that segment, torsional torque, torsional internal resistance in that segment. L represents the length of the segment. G and J represents the shear moduli and the polar moment of inertia of that segment. Okay, so it is similar to that delta is equal to sigma P L by EA over each segment. Okay, this term is similar to that. Suppose we have a variable cross section. That means the area is changing. The area of cross section is different at each. Uh, is a function of x. So how will you analyze this problem? So this summation term, we will have to divide this segment into infinite parts and do that summation. So we can use our calculus approach. So what we do at a distance x, we take a small segment of length dx, and then we find out what is the twisting moment produced there. And using the twisting moment, we can find what is the twist produced between these two planes. Okay, so the twist produced between these two planes, that is d phi, is equal to the twisting moment t of x into the length dx by g of x into j of x. J of x is the polar moment of inertia of that cross section. And what we can get is we are getting the small change in the we are getting the angle of twist between these two planes. And if we want to get the angle of twist between the entire segment, we have to integrate it. So we integrate from 0 to L, and we get the total angle of twist. Del phi is equal to 0 to L T dx by Gj. So J is a function of x here, and T is constant. It is T is equal to T prime. So here there is no intermediate load. We have T a constant value. If you have the same material, we'll have G. But if you have functionally graded material, probably then G will be a function of X. Okay, so this is the application of this formula for variable cross section. So this formula is similar to that delta for the axial load problem. Delta is equal to what is it? P dx by A. Okay, P dx by A. That so what we, in that problem, what we'll do, we'll see what is the deformation of this segment under the axial load T of x, and then we can find what is the increase in length of this small segment, and then what we can do, we can sum up all the segments, increase in length there, and we get the total change in length. So we'll solve another problem which involves interaction between a shaft gear system and another shaft. Okay, so this will involve some compatibility, displacement compatibility and all. So what is the problem? we have a shaft AD. Okay, the shaft AD D part is fixed, so it cannot rotate. And at A we have a gear. Okay. The gear is represented by this green color disc. And I'm not showing the teeth of the gear. I'm just showing the teeth to be just a straight line, but it's actually gear means if you see cycle gear. So if you when you drive, the chain will be rotating on that tools on the hub. So there will be some gear kind of mechanism there in the cycle. So that those kind of teeth will be there on the outer surface. I'm not showing those teeth here. And we have another shaft B, and there is a smaller gear here. Let's call that gear B. The radius of this gear A is RA, and the radius of this gear B is RB. And at ND, we are applying a twisting moment T. So what is being asked is, we are asked to find what is the angle of rotation of this E with respect to the global coordinate system. Okay, how much amount this point the shaft at this point, what is the angle of rotation? So what we have to do is, what else is given? AD is given as L, B is given, length of B is given as L. The J for this shaft is J, AD is J, and JB is also J. The torque applied is T, at E. So we want to find what is the angle of rotation of the ND of the shaft B. Okay, so what we do here? So first thing we'll do is one more thing is given. Radius RA is twice radius RB. So first thing we'll do is we'll look at these two gears and draw the free body diagram for this gear B and for the gear A. So we are looking at the gear A and the gear B. We are looking from the top. So what is happening is, on the gear B, there is a torque being applied. Okay, there is some rotation being applied. So there is some interaction which is happening between gear A and gear B. That interaction point is some, let's call them C on the C prime. Okay, those 2 points are in contact. So C is lying on gear A and C prime is lying on gear B. Okay, so there is some interaction happening there. So when you apply the twisting torque, what will happen is the gear A will try to prevent the rotation of gear B. The gear B will want to rotate it like this, rotate in the same direction, but gear A will prevent it. So there is some resistant force coming at this point of interaction. So that resisting force is shown here. Okay, so the gear A wants to rotate like this, but this is prevented. This will provide some resistance. That force is shown here, F. And there will be some interaction force between the shaft and the gear. So there will be some reactions coming there, which is acting at point B. And for gear A, what happens? We are trying to rotate gear B. So there is this resistance happening here. Equal and opposite resistance force will act here on gear A. So that force is F, and that is acting at point C. And at A, we can have some reactions, some RAX and RAY. So this is the free body diagram for gear A and gear B. Now let's analyze what is happening in gear A due to the force F. So what will happen is that there is a twisting produced, a torque produced. The torque value is sigma ma, which is F for A. Okay, so because we are applying some torque at E, there is some twisting moment being produced here. Okay, there is some sigma ma being produced, which will try to twist this gear. As a result, this shaft also will be twisted by a certain amount. Okay, so the twisting moment which is acting on the gear A is same as the twisting moment which is acting on the shaft. So the twisting moment Fr. Okay, so I'm just denoting it by TAD. Okay, that is the twisting moment, and we don't know what is the value of TAD, twisting moment. We just know that it is equal to Fr. F is still unknown. So what we do, we can do the analysis for gear B. Okay, so in gear B, what is happening? We are having the twisting torque, the resistance F, and what we can do, we can do the apply the moment equilibrium at point B. So these reactions will produce zero moment, and the counter anticlockwise movement torque T is balanced by F times RB. So T minus FRB is 0, so T is FRB. And we get the force, that contact force F to be equal to T by RB. So once we know the contact force, we can find what is sigma MMA, what is this torsion coming on the shaft AD. So that will be TRA by RB. Okay, so T by RB into RA, it is TRA by RB. So torque which is coming on the shaft AD. Okay. So when you are applying this torque T at T, there is some torque being produced in the gear AC, and same torque is being produced in the gear AD, in the shaft AD. So the torque is TAD, and the TAD value happens to be TRA by RB. Okay. What it means is that TRA by RB. So if the radius is large, then the torque produced in shaft AD will be higher. Okay. So RA by RB here is 2. So if you produce torque T here, this is twice the torque which is coming on the shaft AD, because the radius RA is higher. If you make it thrice, suppose the radius is 3 times RB, then the torque produced in the shaft will be 3 times T. Or if you make it RA by RB is 4, then the torque will be 4 times RB. So depending on this radius of the gear, we are able to produce a larger torque on this shaft. Okay. So the torque is T RA by RB, which happens to RA by RB is 2, so it is twice 2 times T. That is the torque in this shaft AB. Now we can find out what is the change in what is the angle of twist being produced. So pi A minus phi D. Phi D is 0. It is fixed at the other side. So phi D is TAD by TL by GJ for segment AD. So we get TL by GJ, and that happens, T happens to be 2 times T, so 2TL by GJ. That is the angle of twist phi A. Now what we'll do next is we will look into the some compatibility of these two gears. So we have the gear A and we have the gear B. So under the action of the torque T, the gear A will rotate, and say initially it is at C, and due to the rotation it will move to the point on the arc will move to D. The angle of rotation is phi A. Because phi D is 0, we will get phi A here. And similarly, this smaller gear will by an amount phi B. So the arc will move by C from the point on the arc will move from C prime to D prime. So we can find out what is CD. CD will be RA phi A, and what is C prime D prime? It will be RB phi. Because they are in contact, the CD value will be equal to C prime D prime. Okay, so phi A RA will be equal to, and from this we can get twist produced in the gear B. So the twist produced in gear B will be pi B into pi A RA by RB. Because these points, these gears are always in contact, so this condition is valid. If there is a slip happening, it will not be valid. Because they're in perfect contact, we will have that relation pi A RA is pi B RB, and RA by RB is 2. So the twist produced in gear B is 2 times the twist. So twist produced in gear A is 2TL by G, so it will be 4TL by GJ. Okay. So we have found what is the twist produced in this gear B. So there is anti-clockwise rotation. So we are showing that anti-clockwise is happening in gear B, that is indicated by pi B. And because of the torque, produced T, there is some angle. This shaft will twist by certain angle, and let's call the shift twist produced at T be pi E. So we don't know what is it. So what we do is we know that the difference in the twist between pi A and pi B is equal to this TL by GJ. So we can apply that formula. So T length of the shaft, and J is the J for the shaft. So pi B is, we have calculated 4TL by GJ, and here right hand side it will be TL by GJ. So we get phi E, the total twist produced at T will be phi. You send that 4 to the right hand side, you get phi TL by GJ. Okay, so this is a interesting application, and we have looked at the analysis of two gear systems which are interacting. So if there is no gear here, if there is no interaction, probably what will happen if you this shaft will not be in equilibrium. If you rotate by t, then this part also will rotate by t. There will be no relative rotation. It will not be in equilibrium at all. Because it is interacting with there is some resisting force coming there, and as a result there is some relative rotation happening. So the main thing is that how is the force transfer taking place? We are having the torque T. As a result, there is some resistance coming at the point of contact, and equal and opposite resistance force is acting at the gear A. So this equal opposite resistance force will produce a moment. So that moment is torque is TAD. If the gear A radius is higher than gear D radius, then we'll have a higher torque. So it is twice, so we'll have a twice the torque acting in shaft AD. And once we know the torque, we can find the change in angle phi A. And know the change in angle phi A, we can find out what is the angle of twist produced at B, phi B, by using that by equating the distance traveled by the arc, by equating the distance along the arc line. And once we know that, we can apply that relative change in angle of twist phi minus phi b is equal to TL by GJ for shaft EB. Okay, so yeah, another problem. This is regarding statically indeterminate shafts. So this problem is similar to the bar subjected to axial load. So bar which is fixed at both ends and is subjected to axial load region. Okay, so it is similar to so at the intermediate region we are having a torque TD acting. Okay, so it is shown by a double arrow. So what you have to do? You can do it as I say. As I say, you can do the same thing. You can take your right hand and place your thumb pointing in the direction of the double arrow. So your fingers will curl in the direction in this direction towards you. So the torque, that is the torque being produced on that shaft. Okay. So the information we have is the length AD is given, length BD is given. It is 125 millimeters. The torque TD is given as 120 Newton meter, and some more information is given. The portion AD has a solid cross section, and the radius is 11 millimeters, and portion DB has a hollow cross section. So outer radius is 11, inner radius is 8. Okay. So with this information, we are asked to find what is the reaction torques which are having reaction torque happening at B. Okay. So again, if you want to do the analysis, we'll have to draw the free body diagram and all. So assume the torque reaction at A and reaction at B with TB, and both angles are in the leftward direction. So the double arrows are both in the leftward direction. So for equilibrium, TA plus TB is equal to TD. That is the equilibrium condition. But still we don't know what is TA TB. We need one more equation. So how to get that equation? We have to use the compatibility condition. So the compatibility condition means that the net change in twist angle is 0. So the plane here will not move relative to the plane here, circular plane there. There is net change in twist is 0 between phi B and phi A. Okay, so that is the compatibility condition we use. For the axial load problem, we found that the net change in length is 0. So similarly for this twisting problem, we say that net change in angle of twist is 0 between phi B and phi A. So first we'll do analyze segment AD, and then we'll analyze segment BD. So we'll cut a cross section in segment AD. So we have our twisting moment TA, and on the right surface we have the internal moment. So AD will be equal to TA, and we can cut a segment between D. We can cut a section between D and B. So that is the section is shown here. So there is this reaction torque TA, and this TD will come into picture. It's acting in point D, and on the right surface we have the internal resisting torque TBD. So for force balance, TBD plus TD is T. So TBD will be TA minus TD. So if you look at the equilibrium condition, TA plus TB is TD. So TA minus TD will be minus TB. Okay. So we can draw the torsional moment diagram. Between A to D, we have TA value. Okay. Between A to D, we have TA, and between D to B, we have minus TB. So I'm just showing it in this. Okay. So and then that will be dividing T by the GJ. So T BJ for segment AD, and here T BD by GJ for the segment BD. Okay. So this is the T by GJ diagram. So for compatibility, we can find out what is the change in what is the twist difference between phi B and between section at B and section at A. That is phi B minus phi A. That is the area under the curve. So TAD GJAD plus TBD TL by GJ for segment AD, TL by GJ for segment BD. So here TAD is TA and TBD is minus TB, and AD and BD are equal. JAD is different from JB, so we have to be careful. So the compatibility condition states that phi B minus phi A is 0. That means section at B will not move with respect to section at A. There will be no relative rotation there. So from this condition we get TA into AD by GJAD is TB into BD by GJBD. So what will happen? AD and BD will cancel out. GG will cancel. Polar moment of inertia of segment, solid section is pi r power 4 by 2, and polar moment of inertia of the hollow section pi by 2 r2 power 4 minus r1 power 4. So you can send r2 power 4 r1 power 4 to the left hand side, and we get TB is equal to TA times 1 minus r1 r2 power 4 minus r1 power 4 r power 4. So we can substitute the values. 11 power 4 minus 8 power 4 by 11 power 4 into TA. So that is coming around 0.72 TA. So we get TA plus TB, that is the equivalent condition is equal to T. So instead of TB, we'll put 0.72, so it will be 1.72 TA is 120 Newton meter. So TA will be 16.8, and you can subtract 120 minus 16.8. So you can sketch your torsional resistance coming at the supports. So if we apply that torsional moment here 120, the torsional moment resistance coming at the support is 69.8, and at B it is 50.2. So we see that AD is a solid cross section and BD is a hollow cross section, and the solid cross section happens to take more torsion resistance. So here the reaction is more compared to the reaction there. Probably this has higher torsion stiffness, so more load is going here compared to this point. So this is a simple analysis of the statically indeterminate shafts. So the main take-home point is that it looks similar to that axial load problem. Only thing is, instead of the single arrow, we'll have a double arrows. Okay, and instead of that TL by EA formula, we're having TL by GJ formula. Okay, instead of P by EA, we have T by GJ. So we can calculate change in angle TL by GJ, and the compatibility conditions and all we can apply.